You're now listening to Sound Talent Media. Check out more shows at soundtalentmedia.com.
ABC Tonight. The Bachelor is back, and everyone is falling for America's heartthrob, Joey Graziadei.
Chef's kiss, 10 out of 10.
He's taking another shot at love.
I am definitely ready to find my wife.
But will he find his perfect match?
I am freaking out.
I'm about to lose it.
Something I need to know, I need to know.
I'm done here.
I thought it would be easier.
The Bachelor premieres tonight, 8/7 Central on ABC and stream on Hulu.
This episode is brought to you by the new true crime docuseries American Nightmare, only on Netflix. In 2015, the Vallejo, California Police Department received a strange phone call about a kidnapping. But when the truth is stranger than fiction, you won't know who to trust or what is real. A fast-paced true crime thriller with cliffhangers at every turn. Watch American Nightmare now, only on Netflix.
Hey, guess what? Guess what, guys? This episode is brought to you by Sinasoid. Sinasoid makes awesome guitar cables. They sponsored a dadgum pizza party at NAMM. They're super cool dudes, and their cables are awesome. They got power cables, they got patch cables, they got instrument cables, they got speaker cables. They got everything that you need, and maybe some stuff you don't even know that you need. So definitely head over to Sinasoid.com and make yourself a custom cable, because they're awesome and you're awesome, and awesome things are just awesomer together. So big thanks to them for supporting the show, and go get yourself some goods. This episode is also brought to you by the Alexander Pedals Sky-Fi Reverb and Delay. I had a chance to play with this thing at NAMM and got a run-through on it, and it's what they're describing as a 90s style digital delay and reverb. So it's like very, very, very pristine in the repeats and such. What's really cool is, depending on how you have it set up, you can also hit the bypass switch and have an infinitely sustaining delay or reverb, depending on how you dial it in. It's really cool, and it comes in this this really sweet looking finish that's like machined into the pedal versus being printed on or silk screened or anything else like that. It looks really awesome. Check it out at alexanderpedals.com. And as I like to say, treat yourself. You deserve it. Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of the ToneMob.com podcast, the show about guitar tone and people behind it. With me today, I have again Mr. J. Leonard J, and instead of a interview type situation, we're gonna do a little NAMM recap.
Oh yeah.
We were both there, we were both having a good time, and we figure, hey, why not talk about some of the stuff we've seen, some of the stuff we did, and throw a little short thing together here. So, how you doing today, Jay?
I'm doing pretty good. I'm trying to grow out a beard. That's kind of like my thing that I've been working on right now. Right. So it's coming in okay. I actually grew out because, speaking of NAMM, we were going to NAMM, and I didn't pack a razor, right. So I just kind of, I shaved it right before I left. I, kind of grew it a little bit. And then when I came back, I think like one random person said I looked kind of cool. And now it's like my thing now that I'm going to try to grow a beard. But it's not really working out, I'll be honest with you. It connects on one side and it doesn't connect on the other side. But it's looking okay. It's rounding out. It's in its early stages.
I understand the struggle. I couldn't grow any kind of facial hair to really speak of until like after my son was born, and then I have like this mediocre mustacheless beard. It's like every time I look at myself, I'm like, I should get rid of this, but
it's a solid
but I've had
beard,
it for,
man.
I've had it for a while now, and it's like I don't know.
Maybe it's a dad thing. Maybe like once you become a dad, it's kind of like you have to get a beard. You know what I mean?
Or at least give it a good solid go for a couple years.
At least give it a shot. You know what I mean? I've never tried to every time I try to grow out my facial hair, I immediately give up. So I'm gonna see if I can actually make it more than 2 weeks. So, here's my fingers crossed.
See, that's the thing is, if you go for like more than 2, what happened to me is I went for more than 2 weeks without having to really be in public or, or like around anybody. It was like 3 weeks where I just kind of like, I had to like go to the store, but like, whatever. That's the store.
I guess the best part about being like somewhat of a like a YouTube guy is I think people could tune in and actually watch this beard actually become a thing, and or just see this nasty scribble kind of come up on the screen and then one day just be completely gone. So we'll see how it works out. But anyway, let's get back to NAMM.
Best of luck with your bearding.
Thank you.
Hopefully you don't have the same problem I do, which is like it comes in okay everywhere else except the mustache. It just looks really bad. It's like a different color, and so people are like, "Why don't you have a full beard?" I'm like, "Well, because it's a different color and it looks strange." So maybe I should give up, but we'll quit the beard talk while we're ahead. Let's get right into it. Okay. What was some of the coolest things you saw at NAMM product-wise, and then we'll get into the fun stuff you did.
Oh, the fun stuff I did. Well, I will be honest with you. Like, how many NAMMs have you done?
This is my second.
Yeah. Okay, well, I for some reason I had a feeling in my head like you were some grizzled NAMM goer, those guys.
No.
Grizzled, but it was my first one, and I've never done it before. It's been something I've always wanted to do. So, the first, maybe 8 hours of NAMM was just me like wandering around aimlessly,
Of course.
But there was a lot of really cool stuff. One thing that really stuck out. Have you noticed that there was like so many like kind of either amps designed for pedals or amp pedals? Have you noticed? I was like seeing it all over the place. Everyone had like either a speaker simulator or an amp that worked well with whatever pedal board you have, or something that you could put at the end of your rig that kind of did all the simulation for an amp. So that kind of hybrid of a little bit of modern technology with the old. But of all of those things that I really liked, that have you tried that Wampler amp? Did you go check that out?
Yeah, I did. I got to check that out while I was there, and gave Brian a hard time about it. And
you gave him a hard time?
Why is that? I always give him a hard time. I can't let that guy off the hook. I mean,
I know.
I got to keep him on his toes. Keep him.
You got to, definitely. But
I don't want him getting comfortable.
Awesome. Well, you don't want him to get comfortable. You don't have to rest on his laurels. You know what I mean?
That's right.
You came up with a couple good pedals. You can just relax and do whatever you want to do, kind of thing. But
no, I thought it was great.
Yeah, it was. I thought it was awesome. Actually, I played it quite a bit. I actually come back for seconds. I thought it was voiced really well, and I liked the fact that it had a really kind of tight, low. It was like, because me, I like the blackface kind of amp sound. Mm-hmm. But one thing that I have trouble with the blackface amp sometimes, especially the lower wattage ones like the Princeton and stuff, is that the low end doesn't really have that snap and that kind of like So I usually have to use something like a compressor to kind of really make that thing kind of come out. Or there's a couple cool little tricks you could do, but that thing already kind of had it baked right in. I thought that was really awesome. I thought that was really cool.
Yeah, I remember I hadn't played one up until NAMM, but talking to Brian about it off and on, and then after a couple conversations I had with you, I was like, I think you're going to like that new Wampler amp. It sounds right up your alley. So I'm glad that it delivered.
It was a sexy beast. The other thing I thought, I just kind of happened upon it when we were at the Benson booth, is there's that little guitar maker that was like right beside Chris, the Ronin guitars.
Mm-hmm.
Those are funky. I like his pickups. He has these like these. I had to. I came to his Benson booth to like just do a demo of the Benson amp, which obviously I love, and it's something that I use all the time. But I was using this Ronin guitar with the amp, and I was like, wow, this is such a cool guitar that I ended up having to. I wanted to film something with the Ronin guy because I was so excited. They had like these. I guess he calls them foilbuckers. They kind of look like those old, trashy, like that Ry Cooter pickup that kind of looks like a harmonica,
Oh, yeah.
They're like humbuckers, but they're really sizzling. They're really bright. It has this nice trashy 50s kind of sound to it, but it plays really well and it sounds really unique. And it was like bright, and I love bright. So I thought those were really, really cool guitars.
Yeah, those are pretty neat. I played Chris's personal one that he had here I don't know, 6 months ago or something.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and it's they're really cool. I like them. They're an interesting take on it's. I was interested to see somebody take like a gold foil and try to, make it into a humbucker. Like that's a new thing. Never seen that done before.
I've seen so many Strats and so many P90s and so many Les Paul pickups and dirt, and all of a sudden something comes out and it's something really different. It obviously just grabs your ear and you're like, oh, this is neat. This is something fun, and that's something that I also noticed is like a lot of cool little innovations, a lot of people trying to push the envelope, in NAMM. It was kind of nice to see, as opposed to kind of like the the wall of relict guitars, which there still were a lot of them, but you can definitely see a little bit more innovation kind of coming out too, as opposed to the kind of preservation of history, which is which I've seen. Obviously, this is my first one, so this is kind of what I know. I thought I was going to go to NAMM and it'd just be like a bunch of relic Strats and guys on like those like fold out tables at the garden show. Those guys, right? I was not prepared for what that was, and so that was really, really, it blew me away.
Yeah, it's quite a different experience versus the last guitar show that you and I went to, or that we met at. Up in Washington, like those are cool, but it's definitely a whole different ball game from the local semi-large guitar show. Not many people content with just setting up the plastic table and the beach chair. There's a few of them, but not many.
Yeah. But it was crazy, like just seeing these booths that were so big, and then they built multiple stories in one booth, so you're like have to walk up a little mini staircase kind of thing to get up. It was neat. Like, wow, it was definitely awesome.
Mm-hmm. For sure. So let's see, was there any other you did some demos while you were there? I know you just mentioned you did a Benson demo. I know you did JHS and I think a New Neighbor. What else who else did you play for, and did you see anything from those booths that like grabbed your attention?
Kind of grabbed my attention. Well, I came there originally for JHS and for New Neighbor. That's kind of what got me to NAMM. JHS, they were great. They asked me to come down and play a little bit and kind of do a little bit of a thing. So we did 2 days with them. The first day, I kind of went through kind of their existing lineup, right, and kind of showed some of my settings that I like on their existing pedals. And then on the second day, I think that's when everyone was like, oh man, that the new VCR is out, the Ryan, and the Ryan Adams pedal, and the Milkman pedal, and the Calhoun, the updated Calhoun. Everyone was excited for that. So the second day was me just showing off those 3 pedals, which was really cool. And then on the Sunday, the last day, I was at the New Neighbor booth. They had this new cabinet simulator, speaking of amps kind of a thing, but they had this thing that simulates cabinets, kind of a replacement for your IRs, and I was kind of there showing off that new pedal, which I thought was super crazy. Actually, I thought it was awesome. But
the thing is really cool. I did want to talk to you about that, because I don't have nearly as much experience with cab sims or IRs or anything like that, and I was impressed with it, but really my experience with those is kind of not very large. The ones I've played, I wasn't super impressed with, but I did like that one. That was pretty cool.
Yeah, IRs are tough. Because I definitely do rely on IRs for some of the stuff that I do. Depending on what demo I'm doing and what the client is, I sometimes use a real mic on the amp and take the time, and sometimes you just get the IRs, and the IRs usually sound quite great, as long as you kind of have like I use this like little reactive load box, that kind of mimics the sound of the interaction between the speaker and the head, which is it gives kind of that tubey sound, which I think is kind of, or that that I think is important, and usually maybe the thing that most people hear when they notice that a solid state amp doesn't quite sound like a tube amp. I think they're kind of missing that reactive kind of interaction. But I use IRs a lot. The one thing about IRs that are a little bit tricky is they are very static. So, they're unchanging. So sometimes when you play a speaker, you hit it hard and it kind of distorts or compresses, in a nice way, and then kind of releases a little bit at the end to give that natural decay as the speaker's overwhelmed and kind of smooths out, right? And you don't really get that with an IR, but some people like the sound, some people don't like the sound. If you're the kind of guy that has like super, super high output speakers and you're using like, a 20-watt amp or something like that, then you're not really going to hear it as, but, that guy who's used to playing like, a 20-watt, speaker with a 20-watt amp, there is definitely like a push that you get that you're not going to get with the IRs. And I think that's what the whole New Neighbor vibe was, what they were trying to go for, that kind of interaction of that push and that compression, and to get a little bit more of that energy in the sound, and also give you a little bit of a way to kind of EQ it a little bit more. But the one thing that I thought was really, really cool with that pedal was, if you have an IR you like say you have this is my 112 thing that I think sounds really good, what you can do is you can actually upload it, that IR in this, what do you call it, the little waveform thingy, graphy. When you look at a speaker and you see the little graphy, the words completely gone out of my head.
It's what IR stands for. It's the impulse response.
Graphy, impulse response.
Graphy.
The impulse response. You can load that into the software for the little pedal, and you can actually copy the curve. So you could actually get the curve that you want only with the response. So that I haven't done face-to-face like show off between the two yet. So I think it won't be too long. I think New Neighbor is going to be sending me one of those. So I'm actually going to send it down and actually do unbiased. This is the IR, this is their pedal, and really see what's going on there. But I can tell you, just playing that thing through the the speakers, if you watch the demo, it actually sounds quite nice.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so
Very
really
nice.
Excited to see what
That's
looks
cool.
like.
I'll be really curious to watch that when you get to sit down with it a little more. That'll be cool.
Yeah, a whole conversation for another day. I'll tell you, it's really, really neat. But lots of really cool stuff. But for NAMM, there's a lot of after parties and a lot of crazy things going on in NAMM. But really, I tried to go to as many like little events as I could. But the problem with me was, at the same time we were doing the NAMM thing, I was also trying to release these demos as well. So like, go out. I kind of picked the companies that I kind of thought were really neat, or the ones that I have, a relationship with, and I've been wanting to film something with them in person. So I made sure I got those guys in there. So I'd film all day and then go back to the hotel room and try to, I edit the videos, because really the NAMM experience, I wanted to kind of include all of the little subscribers on my page, just make them kind of part of it as well, because not everyone can go. So I wanted them to have the information just as quick as everyone else, all the news guys were getting it. So I tried to film as much and edit as much as I could while there with the hangover and pushing through, trying to get it going. So it was pretty serious. But did you see my wife down there at NAMM? It took my
yes, she came to the pizza event with you.
We had a Tone Mob pizza event. That was cool. But I brought my wife.
Brought to you by Sinasoid. Thanks again, guys.
Fantastic boys at Sinasoid. I love those guys.
I know. So good. Buy cables from them if you haven't already. Why haven't you? It's so silly.
It is like an event when you get like their cable too. It comes like this like pizza box with the coffee and the little foldy thing. It's pretty cool. I remember when I got my first like Sinasoid package in, I was like, ooh, this is fancy. It looks really cool. But we brought my little 5-month-old boy to NAMM, and my wife had the baby in a baby Bjorn. And for all you guys wondering who shoots all my videos for NAMM, that was her. So it was my poor, my poor wife, with this baby strapped to her chest, carrying this baby and you know how big NAMM is, right? Like this huge thing on her feet all day and filming. So it was, it was pretty crazy. It was
wow. She is a trooper.
Damn trooper. She was unbelievable. That baby was the most popular baby at NAMM, but he didn't even complain. So the kid was great. The wife was great. It was unbelievable.
That's amazing. Yeah, I had my wife and kid down there too, and I was like, "You guys don't want to be here. You don't want to be in."
I don't think she wanted to be there either. She didn't complain. I didn't get any complaints, but I definitely had to make a point of making sure you went to Disneyland before we left, because I think if I did it, I think just horrible things would happen. You know what I mean? Because a human being could only take. A non-guitar playing human being could only take so much NAMM. But
well, even a guitar-playing human being can only take so much
I
nail.
know, wow. God, the amount of noise and the amount of shredding and awesome playing. It was pretty crazy. And not so awesome playing. And
That
bass,
was me.
just like loud bass, just hating you. There was like this. I was down at the SFM booths, which are the guys that distribute, like T-Rex, and they have the BJFE pedals. Have you seen those? Those are awesome.
Oh yeah.
The Mad Professor, he made a bunch of those like mini pedals.
Oh, I missed that.
Yeah,
really?
I was like, oh, this is really neat, because we usually dismiss those mini pedals, except for Exotic. For some reason, everyone's kind of universally going, oh yeah, the Exotic SL drive, and those are awesome. But people kind of dismiss the other small companies with the Hot Tone or whatever those are. But the BJFE just released a bunch of those, which was a lot of fun. And so yeah, T-Rex has that, and they have a bunch of other really Quilter and everything like that. But their whole booth was like right beside a wall of bass players. So,
oh boy,
just being there, just feeling the energy of 600 watts of just cabinet just pounding. It was awesome.
That's great. That's great. Let's see. You said you were taking up a lot of time editing, so maybe you didn't get to visit many of the after events or anything. And I actually missed out on all that this year. It was the first year, like, bringing my family down, and, like, we morphed this Disneyland trip in with NAMM, and so it was, like, kind of talking to my wife, and we were going to go to a couple of them, and then, like, we didn't want to leave the little guy with my parents, because, like, somebody had a headache, and it was like, oh, okay, well, we'll just scratch that off this year, and that's okay. But which ones did you get to?
Oh my gosh! All the events I went to seemed to be the afternoon events. Like, I know I was supposed to. Yamaha has a party every year that I was supposed to go to, but I kind of made the executive decision to go to Disneyland instead.
Good call.
Yeah, thank you so much. They also have they also host a party for all those Canadian guys, so our little contingency kind of in the corner has a little bit of a thing that unfortunately I didn't go to either. So we did the there was 2 Sinasoid events that we went to, and then there was a couple there was one event for a couple dealers that I know, so we kind of had like our little get together and a little bit of drinking and reveling. We had, of course, the Tone Mob thing that we did, which was a lot of fun. But I definitely the late night like rager parties unfortunately did not happen. I was just too busy working for the people out there. So unfortunately, I would love to get trashed with you guys, but I think my daytime drunk was enough to keep me going.
Well, I will say this. This year, I am like last year. I just felt horrible and got like the Namthrax and the flu and brought it home and then got my whole family sick. This year was my first year taking the Wampler method to heart, which was the frequent use of hand sanitizer, which I should preface with saying I don't use the stuff ever. I never use hand sanitizer. But I was like, man,
I noticed he had like little hand sanitizers. Is that his thing? Like he always sanitizes his hands?
Well, he always hand sanitizes anyway, but especially at NAMM. Especially after like one time this guy came up to him like, yeah, man, I want to play your pedals. And he's like, cool. And so he hands him his Telecaster, and the guy, looks down as the guy's playing, and he's got like this like bloody stump. Oh. Not like his fingers missing, but like he got a pretty bad cut, and like it was a couple days old, and he didn't have a Band-Aid on it, and he's just smearing blood all over his Telecaster.
Lucky.
Yeah. So like he was just like, ah, and there's however many thousand people in and out, all tweaking the same knobs and touching the same guitars and breathing the same air, and I was just like, he was like, yeah, you just gotta use hand sanitizer, and I used it, like every 30 minutes. I just be like, well, time to score some of this on, and just and you know what, it worked. I felt fresh as a daisy the whole time. I never went down. Last year I went down hard, and that I do give a lot of credit to the hand sanitizer and the fact that I slept more.
Really? You see, my wife is actually a public health inspector, so she was actually incredibly impressed with the hand sanitizer at the Wampler booth. I was like, yes, that's right, hand sanitizer, stepping it up. But I don't know. It's funny. She's a public health inspector, but I think I've gotten food poisoning more in my entire life.
Oh no!
With her, I don't know. Maybe she's like trying to, like get me down. You know what I mean? Like, hey, hon, why don't you go try that restaurant? I'll go there and get sick or something. I don't know. This is conspiracy theory time, but no. But
maybe that's how she inspects. She's just like, I'll just go have my husband eat there, and if he gets sick, then it fails.
Yeah, real. Oh yeah, I didn't have time to go there, so I need you to go to this restaurant here.
There you go. That's
they
we
serve wild bear. Yeah, enjoy your meal.
Ooh, I'd try some bear. Anyway, back to NAMM. Let's see.
NAMM. We keep going, taking side streets here, but yeah,
this is what we do. That's
but
right.
there's all the legendary. I really wanted to be part of those like legendary NAMM parties because you hear about them, and I'm really close with the Rufus Guitar guys. You can tell I do a lot of videos for them. They actually gave me my start, they those guys know how to NAMM. They NAMM with absolute style and unabashed passion. But I had to be a nice boy. I had to work hard. But maybe next year I might go to at least one of those crazy little events.
Nice. Well, let's see. I'm trying to think. We were trying to do this like right after, like immediately after NAMM, so we were super fresh on everything. And now I'm just like, what did I think was cool? I don't know if you've seen this. A lot of people missed it because I think you kind of had to like know it was there and ask about it in order to see it.
Ooh, secret, right?
I did post a video of it up on Instagram and in my Facebook group. But Electrofaustus, those crazy guys, are you familiar with like an old school instrument called the bull roarer? It's like that thing that you like twirl above your head and it makes like a woo noise.
What? A bull? You mean the things that you'd get like at Toys R Us? It was like a giant tube and you just swing it over your head?
Yeah, thing? it's like that. But that's based on a super old school thing. I think it's like an Aboriginal instrument or something. I think it was more for communication than music, like because you could hear it from a long ways away. I don't know that exactly. I'm just going on my harebrained theories.
Okay.
But yeah, the tube thing. So they made a electronic version of that, where they got the tube like running into a pedal with a switch and a volume knob, and then you can run it into like your fuzz and your guitar amp, and twirl this tube above your head and just make all kinds of crazy sounds. It was really fun. Really? I don't know like how practical it is.
Of the thing, or is it just a woo sound?
Oh no, depending on how fast you twirl it, the pitch changes.
There you go.
Yeah, it was cool. Like I could totally see that being used in some sort of weird like explosions in the sky ambient type band. It would be great.
Wow, I know. I didn't. Where was you? Had to definitely look for that. Yeah.
So Electrofaustus, they were downstairs. They make all kinds of. I don't know if you've seen their stuff. They make all kinds of crazy noise boxes.
Yeah.
And like synths and electronic instruments and things like that. But they were right next to Fuzz Rocheus down in the basement. And crazy. That wasn't sitting out. That was kind of like tucked in the back. And I didn't know what it was. Mm-hmm. But Ryan over at Fuzz Rocheus was like, hey, Electrofaustus has this thing. You have to ask them about it. I was like, what is it? He's like, just ask them about it. So they pulled it out and he was like, yeah, twirling this tube around his head. It was great.
Well, I hope they had a big booth, because if they're twirling the head, they're like whacking all the other people walking around.
It's just like, heads up, people. We're going to be making some sounds. Here we go. But it would look great on stage. Totally.
Yeah, it would actually be one of it would look awesome on stage. It reminds me of there's this one guy who got like an old Nintendo Power Glove and turned it into a MIDI controller.
Yes,
and they were playing some like really intense like electro music. and like, he'd raise his arm and then you'd feel the rise, when you're having the dance, it's getting big, it's big. And then when he started pumping his fists in the air, like the big backbeat would come in and you'd get the drop. It was awesome.
With a power glove.
Awesome.
That's
power
so
glove.
awesome.
So, so if you could mix the power glove with this, this swinging pipe, you got a band. You got
Totally.
a band. You don't even need tunes. You just show up, man. You get record deals with that stuff, man. Record deals.
Totally. The kids would eat it up.
Yeah, man.
Let's see. I'm trying to think of something else. Well, of course, everyone was hyped about the Chase Bliss brothers. Did you get over there and try that thing out?
It was awesome. It was. I thought it really sounded fantastic. Oh, did you see the that violin that was like made with like a 3D printer? It was like something stupid. It was like $8,000 or something like that. It was like this really tiny violin. It wasn't even made out of wood. It was like this glassy, plasticky thing, and it weighed nothing. Have you seen that thing?
No, that's so bizarre.
It was that was a really crazy thing that just popped in my head. That was really, really cool.
Interesting.
But then again, I wouldn't know what to do with it. I actually started on the violin and I never really followed it up because I was really bad at it. But it was weird. They had these weird things that kind of stuck out of it. It looked like it was made out of glass. You know what I mean? Like it was like something from like Batman and Robin, like something like Mr. Freeze would have as a weapon. That's kind of what it looked like. Even the neck, like this made out of this like see-through glassy kind of material kind of thing.
That's interesting. Huh. Well, that's the problem with NAMM though, isn't it? Like you feel like you go and you like, I've seen all this stuff, and then you're like, oh, and people then come back to you later like, did you see this? Like, no. How'd I miss that? Well, did you see that? No. Like you miss probably, I don't know, 75% of the show in all reality.
Yeah, I really do feel like because you just don't have time. You just, you could easily spend a whole day at just one of the booths. You know what I mean? And if you really want to get an idea of what's going on, especially if it's a booth you've never heard of.
Yeah, exactly. Depending on the booth, you easily could spend all day. Like I spent a long time in the Strymon booth just because I had not really gotten to sit down with all of their stuff before. I've played a few of them here and there. And I was like, all right, I got to like really buckle down and try to understand what's going on here.
What did you think of their overdrive? Remember they have that? I didn't actually get a chance to go. I walked by the Strymon booth a couple times, but I was curious about that overdrive they came out with. I think is it supposed to be analog? That's like controlled digitally. Is that how it works?
Well, I don't think so. I honestly haven't done that much research into it other than plugging it in and checking it out. Mm-hmm. I think it's a digital drive with like an analog preamp in it. Mm-hmm. I think like a JFET preamp or something. I should do more digging. Don't quote me on that. But my initial thoughts on it were it sounded pretty good. The low gain side didn't really get me that excited. It was like, it's okay. However, the high gain side sounded really good.
Really
like,
hot.
Really, yeah. So. Yeah. And the switching and functions it has are very useful, especially with somebody who has like one of those all Strymon boards, and they need have like a MIDI controller and things. Then it would become extremely functional in a rig like that. But yeah, as far as a standalone drive goes, like high gain sounded great. Low gain, I've got some things that I think do it better for my ears.
Yeah, I've definitely heard that pedal a lot. I've heard what it sounds like and everything, but yeah, I never had a chance to really like get the touch, and see how it actually feels on my fingers. But I thought it sounded, at least from my ears, pretty good. But no idea how it works. But I usually like their stuff.
Yeah, well, I fell in love with the Deco. I'd never really sat down with that thing.
Yeah, that's cool. That
actually pedal really is so fantastic. I gotta get one of those. I love the Deco.
It goes right along with like this new thing that I'm just loving about pedals, where you're getting kind of like studio gear on a pedal board. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like it's something that kind of came out within the last couple, maybe 5 or 6, 5 years, where when stuff like the Cali 76 came out, right? And which or I think Effectrode made like an LA2A kind of in a box thing, right? And it's kind of getting that like that I'm in the studio polished tone, but putting it in your everyday rig and really kind of crafting the edges of your guitar. I don't know. I really dug it. That's why the one thing I really had to go home with when I went to NAMM was that Keeley compressor. I finally had a chance to try that Compressor Pro, and I thought that thing was awesome. I thought it was really, really beautiful sounding.
Oh, it is.
That's probably going to be right on the board. That probably just made the board. So it's actually sitting on the board right now. So there you go.
I know you're a big compressor guy. I, for some reason, had it in my head you'd already messed around with that one.
No, well, it's been on my list. The two, I'm a self-called compressor guy, but the funny thing is, the two hottest compressors on the market, like the Cali 76 and the Compressor Pro, up until recently, I've never played either of them, right? So I was actually hesitant about the Compressor Pro because it's a VCA compressor, right? And I don't know, I typically wouldn't use like a VCA compressor on a guitar, but I don't know. I thought it was, maybe I should rethink that, because it doesn't color the tone like an FET, like an 1176, but it's significantly more. It sounds so natural. It's actually what my guitar sounds like, only with compression on it. And I know, maybe I should start fooling around with an old DBX or something like that.
Yeah, who knows? Who knows what kind of magic you might be able to come up with?
Yeah, found a new love. Yeah.
And well, that's another thing. This isn't exactly a new release, but I went to the Keeley booth for a little while, and I got to experience a couple things. One, I got to sit down with the Loomer for a little bit and mess around with that. And that thing, I always thought it was probably pretty cool, but it's much cooler than I even thought. That pedal is super rad.
That's their shoegazer in a box pedal, right?
Yeah, exactly. It's like this My Bloody Valentine thing in a box, which is pretty cool. But I had this really odd experience, and you, as a guy who's like a demo guy and did demos at the booths and all that stuff, and is a much better guitar player than I am. I had a kind of a funny thing happen when I was there, and it was like, I'm going to sit down and check out this big board of Keeley effects, because there's, a lot of stuff I hadn't got to try yet. And I was going through and just like fumbling my way through things, and a guy come up and he was like, oh man, I want to hear what this sounds like. And one of the Keeley guys come over and they were just like, okay. And they like shut everything off that I was playing. And like, I like turned into a demo guy for 10 minutes.
Hey, there you go. Yeah.
And it was like, well, this is unexpected, because I don't have like licks that I do. I just kind of noodle around and beat power chords and things. So it was like, okay, hopefully I don't ruin this for you and make people not want your pedal. But it was kind of a fun thing that happened for 10 minutes. Like, oh, this is what it's like to be a demo guy. Wish I knew how to play guitar better.
Yeah, that actually happened to me when I was at the Keeley booth too. Like, because I guess a lot of people were, the dark side is a big pedal for them. Everyone was asking me to, hey, can you try that? Can you turn on that dark side? Turn on that dark. That was like the most requested thing ever. So but the funny thing is, I haven't really had a chance to play with it. So one of the knobs is like a what do you call it, a delay head, so you can get different delay subdivision, which is awesome thing. But I didn't know that, so I'm turning this knob and I'm going, what the hell's going on with these delays? This is crazy. Like, what are these soundscapes? Where am I? What's going on? Who is this? Which probably is actually how David Gilmour felt during the entire 70s. So maybe it is true to the actual Pink Floyd tone. But
that's a good chance. Who am I?
But I was, but like, because I guess that's true. Like, thinking back on it, like, obviously, like, the Echo Rec, had multi-heads and, so obviously, but I guess in my head, maybe I'm completely wrong, but I always remembered him just using kind of a single mode tape head. I'm sure there's a guy out there on the Gilmourish forum that's going to prove me wrong in every single thing. Actually, in Paul's blah, blah, blah. Obviously, no, of course he had to. If you're going to have a unit that cool, you're going to use it. But I always just associate him with those certain, over delay. So that threw me for a spin. So I felt so bad. I was demoing the dark side, and I'm like twisting knobs, going, what the heck is this? This is some crazy. This is pandemonium. And I had the, and then the on one side's a big muff, right? And I guess in my head, I was thinking like early Floyd where it was like a fuzz face. So I didn't notice. I saw there's a tone knob on there for the fuzz, which wasn't called tone. It was called something else. I forgot what it was. I actually have that pedal sitting. I have to look for it, but it was called something else. But I think, I think I had it all the way off. So like the tone was really warm. That's probably why I was thinking fuzz face and not Big Muff as well. So like, I was like, the fuzz sounded like really overly warm, and the head, I felt so embarrassed. I was trying to play these Pink Floyd licks, nothing. So obviously my natural reaction is when I have something and it sounds like a certain way, it makes me want to play a certain style, and I just play that style, right? And the way I had it set, it was not a Pink Floyd sound. So what I had to do is, I tried to play what would complement that tone that I came up with, and it sounded great. But there's like, no, I play David Gilmour. I felt so bad. So, but it did give me extra, guts to when I do come up with this Dark Side review. I'm doing an absolutely no Pink Floyd video on it. So I'm gonna actually show you how to get a bunch of settings, because everything but Pink Floyd. Because actually, through that experience, I actually found out there's a billion sounds in this pedal. So that's gonna be my thing. I'm gonna try to do when we actually get this pedal onto film.
That's good, because that like everybody else who does one, they're just gonna be playing basically everything off Dark Side of the Moon, and
yes.
Might as well break the mold a little bit. Why not?
Yeah, exactly. Well, I did it with the Monterey. I remember when we got the Monterey. I really like Lance Seymour. He's a demo guy too, and I saw his review. And a couple other guys did a couple reviews on the Monterey when it first came out, and they were all kind of like Hendrixy. They were getting all those awesome Hendrix tones, and I was thinking like, I can't, all the tones that I wanted to do in my demo, they already did, and they did it, better than I would, right? So I was like, well, you know what, I'm gonna just do a non-Hendrix kind of review. And playing with this pedal there, I was like, oh, I'm gonna do the exact same thing with this, because this is really even to a crazier degree is more versatile than the Monterey. Even though the Monterey is actually one of my favorite pedals, I thought that was it's a cool thing. But the cool thing about these boxes, like, yeah, you get like, how many different types of effects in one box. You put it on your board. You can use it when you want those Hendrix things, but just because something is designed for a certain purpose doesn't mean you have to use it only for that purpose. But if you do get it for that purpose, you're not going to be upset either, because it does it really well.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I've had a couple people like I'll post different fuzzes on Instagram or something, and a couple people here and there, they were like, what pedal is gonna get me that Hendrix tone? Which fuzz face variant do I need for that Hendrix sound? I'm like, if you just want, like, you're just trying to get Hendrix in a box, and that's what you're concerned about, just get the Monterey and get everything. Like, be done with it already.
It's fast and on the go. It's definitely, especially for someone that especially at home and just wants to just get it quick and get it really beautiful. You know what I mean? That those pedals are really kind of like, you just really simple to kind of dial in. So yeah, it's a good thing to go for.
Mm-hmm.
But,
thanks, Rob, for making that easy on me. Not used to be like, well, maybe you want this and maybe you want that, but now it's just like, oh, just get a Monterey.
Man, he really knows how to. He really packs it in, though. Isn't it crazy? Like, the Monterey, there's a wah pedal, there's an auto wah, which is like, again, talking about like how you don't necessarily have to do Hendrix. Hendrix didn't really do auto wah, but there's an auto wah in there. There's a univibe. There's your fuzz, and there's one more thing in there. I think a rotary has a rotary.
I was gonna say, rotary simulator in there.
That's all in one pedal. And then on the dark side, you get yourself your Big Muff. You got a multi-head delay, which on its own, now that I've actually had a chance to really dig into it, it's freaking awesome. And then you have flanger and rotary, and then you have a phaser, and you have a univibe. And this is all in one pedal, right? So, one thing I like to use those pedals, not necessarily to, more specifically the Monterey, because I'm pretty new to the dark side, but is you have it on your board, and it's that kind of, everyone needs that pedal that does a little bit of everything. So when that inspiration comes, you can just get it quick, you know what I mean? And it doesn't take up a lot of space, because I very rarely use auto wah, or I very rarely have a need for the univibe sound. A lot of people get great use out of it, but I don't use it personally that much. But when I do, it really makes the song that much better. So actually having something really compact like that is just on your board. It's just a good kind of like, you have your bass tones, and then when you want something creative, you get one of those small little Keeley boxes and you're good to go.
Yeah.
Or you have a quick gig and you just want to, get like a little tone, a little workshop, those little workshop pedals he has, and get those small things and pack it in your bag and you're ready to go as well too. There's so much cool stuff, eh? Crazy.
Well, we were on the tail end of the podcast. We just got interrupted at the worst possible moment that we could have got interrupted, honestly. But the last question I was going to ask you was, like, were there any other things? We talked about some of them, but, like, were there any last NAMM, because this was supposed to be NAMM focused, but, it's you and me, so we're not going to stay focused on anything.
Any NAMM related things that kind of popped to my mind?
Yeah, that was the last. We just had a couple more minutes to go through any NAMM stuff.
As I said, the first 4 hours I felt like I was in a superstore, or with like a Walmart, and just completely lost in the aisle. But there was a couple. No, actually, there was one thing I found really nice, and that was the Fender section, and not so much because it was like really cool, which it was. There was some cool stuff in there, but just because of how like wonderfully peaceful it was in there. You know what I mean? Like, there was like a listening booth set up, so like it wasn't loud. And it was like really kind of like, it was almost like going to an art gallery. And I don't know why, for some reason that really stuck out in my head because it was just so refreshing and lovely just being in. I didn't even want to leave when I got there.
Right. I understand. I keep missing most of the big booths. So it seems like I'm only good for like one larger company booth per NAMM. It seems to be my average. Last year I went into the PRS booth and hung around there for a little bit and did a thing with Paul and Ryan from 60 Cycle. And then this year, I hung out with the guys from Boss UK for a little. Yeah, that was fun. And there's a reason for that. It's one of their guys is Matt Knight from Guitar Nerds, which is also a gear-focused podcast. So he was like, "Oh yeah, you got to come up." So there was like this weird podcaster link to the Boss room. They had their own room upstairs, which was kind of cool. But yeah, it seems like I'm only good for one larger company. I didn't go to Gibson, I didn't go to Fender, I didn't go to Music Group or anybody like that, which wasn't intentional. It just is how it seems to roll.
It's kind of a thing, I guess, like, especially with a thing in that, because with the big companies, you're going to find out what the big thing is already. It's kind of neat, those like little boutique companies. That's what I like about them, because it wasn't so much figuring out what's new and what's up and coming kind of thing. It's more about finding these people and these pedals and these companies and little things that you've never even heard of that, already kind of has a little bit of a subculture behind them, and kind of finding your way into that world. That was really, really kind of neat.
Yeah, that's kind of how I feel about it too. It that's more interesting, is going to see all the. For me, it's like talking to all these people in person that I talk to on the phone. That's kind of like the big deal for me.
That was pretty much my whole NAMM experience, like in a nutshell. Like, it was just me with a list of all these people that I've been talking to, been waiting to talk to, just running around trying to get a hold of them, and because like you have such a great relationship with these people on the phone or on the email. I think that NAMM is really, it's like college. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, you do some learning in college and stuff, but some of another big part of the thing is the connection, getting to know these people, and those connections you make in college with some of these people, they actually are even more fruitful sometimes than some of the things you even learn in college. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, totally.
Did you end up getting in that little Chinese corner? Like, there's that little block of area where it's just like all the China kind of like companies and like little random things, like focus on like we just do transformers, like knobs or something like that.
I did, and it's interesting. The one, I get the guys that make like parts that like make transformers and knobs. I kind of understand why they would want to be there. What confuses me is like the pedal companies. That's like, okay, there's 7 of these Chinese booths down here, and you all have the same exact pedals with different font.
They are Actually, they're probably all made in the same factory.
They totally are, and it's like these clearly are the same. So I don't understand why you would spend all that money to do NAMM for something of that nature.
And NAMM also kind of like banishes them to like one little corner. Like they're kind of like away from everybody. They're kind of hidden in this own little thing. But I totally get it too, because a lot of the stuff you see them do, they're pretty much just complete knockoffs of the big companies, right? Or not even the big company, even like the smaller guys. Like I saw some people like, copying some of the Chase Bliss stuff. They're like, hey, I know that concept. Don't tell me how you came up with that. You know what I mean?
Right.
There's one goofy thing I saw in the Chinese corner, which was like a girl with a capo with like an iPad attached to the capo.
Oh,
and
that's right.
Onto the guitar, and there was like a what do you call it? Like a GoPro like attached to it, and then there was like another thing that clipped onto like the arm, and it was like sheet music. So you pretty much you look like those like cartoons of the guy with like the giant drum attached to his back and the cymbals in his hands, like running around.
Totally.
That was not the most rock and roll thing I've ever seen, actually, but it was neat because the person that was demoing it was like right beside the women's washroom, and they're just kind of like sitting in the corner, like doing this little thing. But the mic is like on so quiet that you can't even hear what she's singing. And I don't know, I felt really bad for some reason.
Well, it's a painfully awkward situation to be in. It really is.
They didn't really present her in the best way they could have, I think. But I guess it's hard to look cool when you have, an iPad attached to your capo.
Well, that's true. There's no way to like Keith Richards that up. You're just kind of stuck with an iPad attached to your guitar and looking like a doofus. That's what you're doing.
It was I think it was like a neck thing with like a microphone for her too. So it was like an all-in-one thing. It was, I don't know. Maybe I'll buy one.
You'll buy one to make her feel better.
I'll buy it. Yeah. I'll be the only guy like in Vancouver with one. Everyone's gonna be so jealous. All you need is if you get John Mayer to play it just once, then everyone's gonna want one. Is that how
totally.
it works?
Yeah, you could take just some random weird like Snapchat video of him playing it, and then somehow it would sell. It would be magical.
Is that Sia with that capo iPad thing? And we gotta get one.
Oh yeah, man, I gotta get one. I mean, look how you can't play in normal tuning.
Yeah.
You have to be in a capoed position. It's great.
That was one of the things that snuck up on me. Oh, and also thinking about our conversation from 2 days ago, I spent even more time with that Keeley Dark Side pedal, which remember I told you how I didn't even realize the tone knob was connected to fuzz. It was just complete catastrophe.
Right.
I've spent an entire weekend with it, and I've actually. This might be sacrilege, but I've kind of come to the point where it's like one of my all-time favorite fuzzes now. Just the fuzz on that.
Wow.
You think, oh, it's a workstation. It's just a big muff. Blah, 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 blah. Dude, it's not a big muff. It's not. It's big muffy. It has big muffish, but I give it a look. Man. It was to the point. And this is not even hyperbole. I'm not, and by the way, I want all the full disclosure. Like I am not edged by anyone to say any nice thing about the product. Okay, so I don't just say it because I feel. But I actually had to phone Robert. I had to go like, dude, you got something special. You got something really special. It was actually really blown away. You should give it a shot, man. Actually, like fresh ears.
I will. I played almost not all of them. I played a good chunk of his pedals in NAMM. But the Dark Side was not one of them. I was so focused on the Loomer for some reason. So
actually, I think the Loomer is very, very similar to the Dark Side. Just I think the fuzz actually might be. I don't quote me on that. I think it might be the same.
Interesting.
It was it's a big muff that's actually really designed. Like a lot of people say, oh, I got a big muff and it has mids and then you cut through the band. And that's cool. That's mids cut through the band. What I found, and this is what my ears sound like over loud music all the weekend, but it actually didn't really boost any frequencies. It was doing some nice cutting. It got rid of some of the extended and really exaggerated low end that you get with a big muff, which a lot of people love, obviously, because it's part of the sound. Which it's not really a big muff. but it gets rid of a lot of the cloudiness in the bottom end and it adds, which in return gives a lot of more precision to those like really alive frequencies in the middle and the upper edge of the thing. And it really makes the thing just stick right out. It's beautiful saturation. It was to the point where I thought it was so cool that I actually had to compare it to like 5 other Big Muffs I have in my collection. And it does sound completely different, but it's so usable. And I actually, I think it's on the board there. I'm going to put that thing on the board. It's just awesome.
Wow.
My kitty. You hear that?
Oh, hi. How you doing?
Put it on the board, right, buddy? He doesn't care. He doesn't have it. He just wants to see something shiny.
Show me something shiny, please. Maybe something I can stick it in my mouth. I don't know what it is, but I'll eat it. Yes.
But for all you guys that are like, curious about it, I'm actually, I don't need a rotary or a flanger and a delay. The delay is really nice in it. I don't really need it, but just on the fuzz alone, if he ever releases that thing,
just get it.
Forget about it. Sold.
All right, Jay. Well, I mean, I would love to keep going because I always, how we can like talk for 2 hours and it feels like 5 minutes. But I do need to take off. But thanks for coming in and patching this last segment of the podcast up so that we didn't end with so Jay, what do you think about? Because that would have been a little bit weird.
Yeah, well, it would be pretty much par for the course for our conversations, nevertheless, though.
It's true. We rely on this internet thing, and it's like one of these days they'll figure this internet thing out, and it'll all work for us.
I actually am appreciating these like super early morning conversations that we've been having too. It's like you kind of have to wake up and just get your game on. I'm feeling pretty fresh now. I think I'm gonna go for a run or something. Nope.
Just kidding. Not gonna do that.
Not at all. I completely changed my mind. Yeah, no.
I'm gonna get in the car and drive. So that's going to be fun.
Oh, you're going to drive while you're doing your podcast?
No, I'm going to have to hang up on you in here in like a second.
I'm going to miss you. But yeah, thanks for having me. It was great to be here. And keep watching my page at J Leonard J at J Leonard Watco. We have lots of cool content, including, a nice segue. We're actually doing the Dark Side coming up.
There you go. I am also. Oh, I should say I'm going to be hitting you up for something along those lines later. So maybe I'll call you later today.
Ooh, I like this.
Yeah. Secret. Oh yeah, we gotta be. Oh, don't tell anybody though.
I'm not gonna. My mouth is completely shut.
All right, man. Well, thank you for coming on. We better wrap this thing up. So for Jay, this is Blake, and as always, folks, good luck and good tones. That does it for today's episode. I hope you guys enjoyed you've probably had enough NAMM talk to last your entire life, but I figured we could go over it real quick and painless, and then I will try not to talk about NAMM anymore, because you're probably tired of it. Okay, it'll probably creep into the conversation, but I will do my best, I promise. I really promise. And just a couple more things before I wrap this episode up. Don't forget to check out the show's sponsors, Sinasoid and Alexander Pedals. By supporting them, you help keep this whole train rolling. And also, in addition, you get sweet gear from sweet companies. It's kind of a win-win for everybody. So check those guys out and help keep this whole podcast gear community train just rolling along nice and smooth, as you guys have been doing for a while now. So I really appreciate that. One last thing I think would be to just go ahead and plug that Facebook group one more time. It's the Tone Mob on Facebook. You'll find that group if you search for it, and then you can request to join. I'll get you approved, and you can get in there and talk all sorts of super geeky stuff with us. So with that in mind, take care. Have a good week. One last thing before we totally sign off here, I just want to remind you that if you do any shopping at Stringjoy, that's Stringjoy guitar strings made in Nashville, that will help me out as well. As I've said for years, I'm heavily involved in that company, and I really do think they're making the best products on the market. So if you would like to try custom strings, go to tonemob.com/stringjoy and check them out today. I seriously love what the team down there is doing. I help them out with all kinds of things, and by you supporting them, you are also supporting me as well. And hey, you need some strings, so why not get some custom strings just for your guitar and playing style? Again, the link for that is tonemob.com/stringjoy, and that will take you right to their website, and you can do all your shopping through there, and that will help everyone involved out. So thank you very much. Talk to you next time. We are brought to you by the wonderful folks at Gun Street Wiring Shop. Yes, Gun Street Wiring Shop. I've talked about them before. I used to say based out of Bend, Oregon, but guess what? Sean moved to my neck of the woods. Sean's in Portland. Sean is awesome and has helped me with a bunch of stuff lately. And if you have wiring needs for your guitar, he can help you too. If you want to get weird with it, he can get weird. If you just need to spruce things up a little bit, there's your guy. He takes all the guesswork out of doing your guitar wiring, and he makes it simple, and his customer service is top-notch, and I can't say enough good things about Gun Street as a company. I really respect Sean and what he's all about, and the product is top-notch. I've got 3 different guitars that now have Gun Street harnesses in them, and I could not be happier. So go to gunstreetwiringshop.com and check them out.